Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with a quick and special edition of the New Theory Podcast. I got my boy Vince Minetti in the house, South Philly guy. Vince, welcome to the New Theory Podcast. How you doing today?
Tom, thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor. And when you say simple and quick, I know what that means, and I'm all about it.
Oh, I said the same thing to my wife. All right. With that being said, you got a lot of stuff going on, and anybody who knows me, I'm morphing more towards in studio interviews, longer form. However, I support creators. I love to support Italian American creators, and you started out. I know you've done some comedy. I know you did some of that stuff, but now you're morphing into some serious filmmaking and that kind of stuff. And I first want to ask about the mob comedy that's coming out. You did a fundraiser. Hopefully, I helped out a little bit with that. Let's start off with that, and I'm really excited to hear about the mob comedy.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Tom. Here's the hat here just to show the support. But so it's called the
Okay.
pasta. It's called the Pasta and Cheese Crew.
I love it.
Funny name, right? But it's kind of a throwback to like the '80s type of comedies.
Yeah.
One of my favorite of all time, I'm sure you may agree, is Wise Guys with Piscopo and DeVito.
Yep.
And so myself and longtime friend, I've known him for over 20 years, Sal Mazzotti, he's a local filmmaker in Philadelphia.
Nice.
Um, and so we linked up, and we, apart from being buddies and some of the comical things that happened in our lives, we decided to put pen to paper and collaborate on this new short film. We started from zero, and I said, you know what, let's do it. It's a tough market, as we all know. It's tough to raise money, and it's tough to raise money, period. Right now, it's even
Correct.
but we went through Indiegogo, and we started with $10 donations, $20 donations. We did some funny stuff on TikTok, shaking a cup with change in it, pleading for donation and begging for bucks, as I used to say. But then we had some really great people that donated 1,000 or 1,500 or 500. So with over 100 donors, maybe 120 donors, I forget, we're able to raise 25,000.
So hold on. So you're talking, if you do the math, you're averaging about 250 each. So I've done. I don't like doing it, to be frank. I hate doing it. So I've done marketing fundraising in the past for private, not for charities, for private projects like yourself. And there's a lot to it. I don't know if people know. So part one is you say, hey, I have 25,000. Here you go, right? And then generally I advise them to say you need an anchor donor, right? Which is generally 20%, right? So boom, that 5,000 comes in, you're already kind of committed, that's kind of stacked deck. People see, oh my God, and then you do it, right? Number two is you need to get another 20% committed. So when you start to trip the algorithm. The last part is 1/3 of the campaign, you need to be past the halfway mark. They call that bar psychology. Bar psychology is here's a long bar, and if it's not going to be successful, people do not want to donate to an unsuccessful program. So you kind of defied all the odds. You had lower average donation, smaller aliquots, and you hit. So I love that non-conventionalness. So can you unpack a little bit? Give me a little more of the how, right? You did some TikToks, you got a G here and there, but give us a little more for those that are trying to use Indiegogo and those platforms to raise money.
Well, I'll tell you what, I should have talked to you before I started doing this. Sounds like you know a lot more about
Oh
this.
yeah, I used to do it. I don't. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I don't do it. The friends that commit to doing it do not, and the people you barely know do it. And for that reason, and that happens to everybody, I don't care, Italian, whatever you are. So for that reason, I don't want to break people's hearts. But I like my last campaign. I'm like, your best friend's not giving me anything, and if it is, it's gonna be less than you think. No, I got him down for $500. Okay. Next thing you know, he gives nothing, and he later on gets $50, some sob story, which is fine because he committed to 500. Because people don't know there's a lot to it. Like if you're gonna raise 25,000, you actually have to go around first to get soft commitments, which are, hey, what are you going to do? Or hard commitments, and actually ask them for the money via a landing page and collect them and actually do it yourself in their name. I actually prefer that because you have the money, in hand. But you defied all odds. So forget about me. You actually did it. You're the success here. So unpack a little bit how you did it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's actually right. What I was going to say is the people that you expect to give you money don't, the people you don't do. And bluntly, that's how it is, really is. So yeah, we did it on an unorthodox sort of a thing, but me and Sal were pounding away, pounding away. It was a 60-day campaign. I started
Oh,
out
you
with
did in
just
60 days too. That's great.
yeah, we and luckily through the grace of God, we actually accomplished the goal 56 days in, so we're 4 days in early.
Uh,
But went through our phones, and I knew by the first 24 hours, okay, I am going to need more than just my phone. So I took to social media. A year ago, I mean, I met you about a year ago with Mike
yeah.
Marino. Shout
Mike,
out to Mike Marino. I started with nothing on Instagram
yeah.
and probably like 50 people, and now I'm at like over 15,000. So I basically leveraged my social media presence to put the word out. We did a
Yeah.
bunch of lives, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I
Huge.
just totally leveraged my social media. I called people that haven't talked to in years. We incentivized, so we have the hats, which we're just actually released. So we're gonna, we're
How
doing
much?
the
How much you get? How much do you have to give to get a hat?
So I believe with that it was $100 criteria.
Ah,
So
why'd you tell me? I think I only gave 25 bucks. I would have gave the 100. I must have missed it.
I think you might have given us 100. I think oh yeah,
I think I gave you 100. I don't know. You know what? Like I get hit for so many of those. So
Yeah.
so it's not funny, but so for that stuff, I'm still gonna do, and I probably did give you 100 knowing me. Um, so I'd love a hat if I did. But I get a lot of private requests for money from people. They just think I have more money than I do. But I'm like such a not a sucker, but I'm such a nice guy. So I probably given out like a few $1,000s over the last 2 years to people like I'm jammed up, I need rent, I need this. And then my wife just said, I'm sorry, but like you can't pour from an empty cup. So I made a hard stop on any private donations about 4 or 5 months ago, and I had to say no, and it killed me to a lot of people. Not your stuff, that's different. That's creative. It's a process. Hopefully, we collaborate on some content, but just that private, like, man, I need $300 because I can't, my lights can't stay on, and it's not against them. It's just in individually, I don't mind giving a few bucks away. But when it was like $3,000, $4,000, my wife's like, listen, like, not that we're missing meals, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Stabilize yourself financially and then do stuff behind the scenes with, charitable donations because you don't know what people do with the money either, right? They can have addiction problems or, other stuff. And anyway, I'm on the tangent. So you did some non-conventional stuff. You got it going. Now, are you going to film it yourselves? Where's the money going? So now you got to raise a few bucks. Where's the money going? And when are you hiring me to market it? No, I'm just kidding.
That's not a bad idea. I like that. So we did yeah, of course Indiegogo has their fees, so whatever that was. They keep a certain amount of reserve.
Indiegogo, hold on. Indiegogo, if I'm not mistaken, if you hit, it's 4%. If you don't, it's 9, right?
I think
Or
it's more like 6%, even if we hit. I have to look at
they
that
might
again.
they might have changed it. I
Yeah.
did my last Indiegogo was a 9 and 4. That's why it's so critical to hit. So 6% goes to that. What about? I don't need a line item budget, but in general, where's the money going?
So we're doing more behind the camera investment. So in other words, we want to make sure we have
Smart.
like, for instance, we have a great DP, Dan Cook, who's been in a lot of fabulous things. We have Robert Ferretti, who, if anybody knows who that is, look him up
Sure.
on IMDb. He worked with Mel Gibson, the Stallone brothers.
Nice.
He's a Hollywood editor. He's a big time, and
Sweet.
he's doing it for a lot less than he deserves. But
Or
he's
for a song, I could imagine.
and so, we have that. We have Johnny Roast Beef Williams. Anybody remembers him from Goodfellas? Who
Yeah.
the guy with the Cadillac, and but as far as behind the camera, we're making sure we're lining up our crew. We already have most of it kind of organized.
Yeah.
Make sure we have great camera. Sal's a great filmmaker. He knows the ins and outs, and he's gotten distribution for all of his productions, so he knows what it takes. And so I'm the new guy coming on with this is my debut. I've got some screenplays that I wrote. This one I worked together with Sal with. It's a collaboration, and it's a lot of fun. But the whole deal with this is to put it out there, put a nice quality piece out
Yeah.
with and submit it to the film festivals and get some attention, see if maybe we can get a deal with maybe Amazon or Netflix. Maybe it's a series, maybe it's a feature, but we're not stopping with just a short.
I like it. So, kind of mutually related topic. We're about similar age. I grew up in New Jersey. You grew up in South Philly, correct?
Right. Vinny from South Philly is my moniker.
I like it. All right, beautiful. All right. So, growing up, we never thought if you said to the 16-year-old Tom and Vince, hey, we're gonna do a comedy kind of not roasting the mob, but just kind of the state of the mob. Like my mother would be like, no, you can't do that. Like, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, but now it's different, obviously, right? Walk us unpack that a little bit. Cause it's just something 30 years ago we not would have done. Now it's like kind of comical or satire, especially after The Sopranos kind of broke through on that. But give me kind of like, what does the younger Vinny tell the older Vinny tell the younger Vinny as to why you're doing it? What was the impetus behind it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. 30 years ago, you would say, let's not touch that.
Yeah,
Let's do something funny, but let's not talk about the mob,
correct,
But
correct.
this is it's more of a like again, it's in the style of Wise Guys or
Yeah.
Pope of Greenwich Village, where it's that type
Oh my God!
one of the best, man. And that's stuff that I enjoy. I think we need to go back to that sort of
I
comedy.
love that.
And this is like, this is about a bunch of bumbling wise guys
I
that,
love that.
have roots in the area, but like they're trying to just find the score in a very diminished mob world.
Love it.
And so with that being the case, look, we grew up, the names have been changed to protect the guilty,
That's
but
right. That's right. That's right.
but we've all grown up around a lot of those
Yep.
influences. Look, I have to admit that with the resurgence, and I don't know how it came about, but I'm sure you know this very well. Like with Sopranos, like Sopranos is big now, 25 years later, and somehow it caught fire again.
Want to hear a pretty fucked up story? So, family member of mine. I don't want to say too much because you could triangulate it pretty quickly, and I don't want to get involved with all that. But a family member of mine who passed recently, he was in his 80s, unfortunately passed from COVID, has the same name of somebody in the Cavalcante crime family, right? But they're also related. But again, I don't want to talk about that too much. And they put the name and face of the person. They put the wrong name and face of my family member on a mafia organization chart, and the guy passed on top of it. So not only is he not alive, it's the wrong guy. So it's kind of like you sit there and you're like, how often are maybe these charts wrong or these news reports wrong? Because not that you and I have like super insider knowledge, nor do we want to, but just being in a neighborhood or knowing people, you see it on the news and you're like, that shit's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever experienced that, or do you kind of leverage that to your comedy to maybe say, hey, you know what, the news has it this way, but I'm going to do it this way and make it funny? Like, I want to unpack that a little bit.
It's funny you say that because there's actually a scene in the short
Yeah.
where there's sort of that misunderstanding where it's blown up a little bit more than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. I mean, growing up, look, I was in the epicenter, grew up in the Italian market, Teth and Carpenter, those people that know, the neighborhood. So and my father knew Mr. Bruno, Angelo Bruno.
Yeah.
He was a family friend.
Yeah.
My father wasn't involved. He was,
Yeah.
just an immigrant. But being around all those guys, I had like Scarfo's aunt lived 2 doors away. Like we
Yeah.
were in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing how it's there. I remember growing up and seeing things and knowing people, and yes, a lot of that stuff was kind of overblown for the newspapers or sensationalism. So some of the stuff is a little overhyped because it sells.
Correct.
But some of it's true too, I guess. But I think it's a little hyped up if I were to put my 2 cents in.
Well, they'll call it like, I think the last big bust that involved Philly was like the East Coast La Cosa Nostra, collaboration crime family. That's just some overzealous prosecutor wanting to arrest some guys with some vowels on the name so they get promoted, become a senator, and then steal money from the government. Okay, so that's my little diatribe. All right, So being a South Philly guy, right? And being in the area and feel comfortable, answer this question as comfortable as you'd like. But Joey Molino is now on, YouTube, which knocked me over with a feather. Vinny, as a South Philly guy, where do you land on that?
Look, I support it. I mean, it's a very controversial discussion, and people don't
Yeah,
really know what to say. I think I support what he's doing. I think it's great. I think that if anything, he's always I know on a personal level that he always gives back, and he always takes
yeah,
care of the neighborhood and children, and he's always been doing that. So I love the fact that he's out there kind of poking and jabbing at some of these people that have this big following out there. They
yep,
have this big YouTube or online
yep,
following, and they're making a ton of money. So it's
yeah,
always nice to hear a little bit of pushback from
yeah.
you know from somebody else. So I enjoy it and I support Joey.
I love it. So I have not spent as much time in South Philly as I would like. I told you I got my dentist friend. I'm gonna say his name has the same name as an infamous mobster that blew up, but another discussion. So he grew up in South Philly. He tells me all about it. He knew his father, his brother. I know them. Good people. So anybody I meet from South Philly is good people. Is Passyunk South Philly? It's not, right?
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, that's in the
Okay.
heart. It's the heart of
Okay.
South.
So I spent some time in Passyunk, but for the most part, not a subject matter expert. How has South Philly changed over the years, right? And number two, it kind of seems to be having a little bit of resurgence. Walk through that.
Well, I've been spending time back and forth this past year, in New York and going to Brooklyn and Bensonhurst in particular, and just Manhattan, and I made a lot of friends, and it's very similar to the changes that have happened in places like New York or
Yep.
Newark or North Jersey or
Yep.
Elizabeth. Or I think we just got to face that things change. They
Yeah.
change for every culture,
Correct.
and not just Italians. um, and it's sad, back in the day, neighborhoods, everybody had their own jackets. You knew what everybody's neighborhood was from. You had the old Italian guys in the neighborhood on the corner. There was an incredible amount of just just neighborhood feeling and
Yep.
warmth. A lot less crime, that's for sure. A lot
Yep.
less crime.
Yep.
Um, so it's interesting too because people make sort of like that connection now. They're like, I think we were safer like when the mob was stronger, in a lot of these neighborhoods, which is a sad statement to say because we pay all our tax dollars to these politicians, and
Yep.
and they put handcuffs on our law enforcement, and they can't even do their job. So it's really sad. But it's changed. Yeah, South Philly's changed. The spirit, I like to say, the spirit of South Philly is still there. There's still a
Yeah.
lot of young kids growing up. I notice a lot of kids, who's involved with the Mumbers. The Mumbers, in case you don't know, is like it's a
Oh
parade that
yeah.
they do. They get dressed up. It goes back to it might have its roots, I think, in Irish culture and English
Yes.
culture, but Irish culture.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a lot of beautiful traditions. Sometimes we have to like defend a lot of these traditions because a lot of
Crazy.
the new people coming in may not like it or whatever. But there's a lot of beautiful traditions. The Italian spirit is alive and well. South Jersey, a lot of the Italians went over to South Jersey,
Yeah.
but now South Philly, I gotta say, South Philly's still strong.
Nice.
Philadelphia in general has a lot of rich history, and the good news is a lot of people that are new to the city want to preserve a lot of that too. So I don't want to make it look like there's a lot of really nice people moving into Philly that love the culture, want to preserve it as well.
Nice. Now, I did. Unfortunately, I regret it. I missed the event at Rim Cafe. You're still kind of doing events. You're still kind of out and about. I love that about you. But you just landed a radio show, Hamilton Radio. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, through a dear friend Jerry Petito, who's an amazing, wonderful, fabulous person, who's a host there. I'm going to be part of Hamilton Radio. So starting in February, I'm going to have a show twice a month, every 2 weeks, from Trenton. And it's going to be basically what I do on YouTube. So if you don't mind plugging that, it's I do Vinny Presents. It's on YouTube. Please subscribe. And that is, I like to invite people on that are either in the world of entertainment or film, music, or just social online personalities, because I think there's a lot of great people out there that don't get the recognition that they deserve. So I try to bring them on as hosts, and they talk about what they're doing, and it's always a beautiful time. I started doing lives on Instagram with that just past Sunday with a woman from the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Roxy Astor, and that did incredibly well. So I figured, I'd like interviewing people. I know I'm wearing a lot of different hats here. As some of your guests might be like, damn, so what does he do? He's doing a lot of different things, but I do love to do the interviews and the talk show format. I also do screenwriting, do acting, and with the Pasta and Cheech Crew, this will be my first as a producer and as a filmmaker. But I'm cooking a lot of things on the stove, so there's a lot of good stuff coming out.
So I was checking out the Hamilton Radio. Is that in studio?
It's going to, yeah. I mean, you have the option. You can do it in studio or also remotely, like we're doing right here. So I plan on being in studio as much as possible. Trenton's not too far, so it's worth the train ride.
I love it. I love the fact that no, I'm starting to do some press, and I did a business interview, business profile. So I kind of like touch on that. And then I went down to Tampa, and it's being released now with Matt Cox, which is more of a crime thing going on. So I also have a lot of different streams of revenue, a lot of different hats. Booker's hat's my favorite. So I get that, because if you have one stream of income or one main thing, don't get me wrong, you're known for that. But then also if that one thing gets compromised, you're in a little bit of trouble. So I'll put a link for Vinny Presents below. I got to get you in studio, brother. I want you to come up. We're doing a long form. We're going to unpack. We're going to have Vinny's Pizza in Melbourne. Shout out to Peter. And then we're going to go. Do you smoke cigars?
I will with you, Tom. I'll make an exception for you.
That's all I need. So check out Vinny Presents. I wanted to do kind of a shorter form for Vinny, because whatever Vinny gets, Vinny wants. He is from South Philly, by the way. So I got to salute. I got to help a fellow Italian American. Congratulations on your raise. Congratulations on all your success. And I'll leave you with the final words.
Well, Tom, again, thank you. I appreciate you making this happen. When I come visit you, I'll make sure I bring some of Renee's beautiful cannolis from the Rim Cafe for you and your family to enjoy. But no, I thank you, and I thank your guests. I love your show. I look forward to, with maybe if you're interested, having you on my show when the time comes, on the radio show.
I'd love to.
And then we can talk about what's going on with you, because I know you have some really exciting stuff, and I love all your content, and you have a great fan base too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying. So like I said, I'm doing some in studio now, mostly in studio, doing longer form, making some investments, which are also kind of drying up why I wasn't giving a lot of money away, because I have to build my base here. And then when I get really big, I can go back to doing, I still do like my private 501c3 stuff every year. I don't just do it for tax purposes, but the reason why I invest in charities is because I know it's going to the right place. I look at the expense ratios, see what they're doing. So, so I appreciate you. I appreciate the props. So, Vinny, thank you so much. Check Vinny Presents out. Look out for the Hamilton show. And then what's it? Pasta and Cheech?
It's called the Pasta and Cheech Crew. You can find me on Instagram under Vinny from South Philly, TikTok, Facebook, Vinny from South Philly. There's no one else out there with that name. Just to let you know, there's no other Vinnies.
Ironically, the guy that I mentioned that his face got put on the cav list, his name was Cheech. But small world. All right, guys, have a good one.
Thanks.